Hi guys, I'm super excited to have you with me today. Today we're in one of my favorite places in Florida and we're talking about what it's like to live life in your 30s. What are some lessons I've learned in my 30s? And whether you're in your 30s or not, trust that I have something for you. It's because our life experiences are completely different. This is essential learning regardless of how old you are. This is just where I am in my 30s. My first life lesson for you is that no one cares, or at least not as much as you think they care. When we suggest things to other people, we're just going off of our knowledge, what other people told us, what we think is the safest bet, because I don't want you to risk something and then to blame me for it. And when you do all the things that someone else wants you to do, they might give you a pat on the back and say, that's awesome, I'm so glad you did it. But if you don't do what they suggested to you and you're successful at whatever, they're also going to give you a pat on the back. They're like, oh, wow, man, I would have never done that. I would have never thought to have followed that path. When it comes down to it, it's just you. It's just you on this path. And what anyone else has to say about it, good or bad, doesn't matter. So remember that people may care for you, but they don't really care about the day-to-day actions that you do. It's up to you to make those choices. Lesson number 2 is that your healing is your responsibility. You have to recognize that regardless of how other people may have treated you, regardless of what may have happened in your past, it is your responsibility to heal from it. And this is a hard one for a lot of us. It's a hard one for me whenever I first faced it. But the reality is that you can only control yourself, your actions, your responses. And regardless of whether it's how someone treated you in your past or whether it's something that's happening now, it's no one's job to heal you but yourself. And some people may want to work through it with you, but if you leave it up to other people, you're taking away your own power and your own agency. So I think, though it's a difficult thing for us, that it's essential that we honor that though this person may have hurt me, I can have power over how I'm feeling. I can have power over my reaction. It doesn't absolve them from whatever they did. Whatever they did is irrelevant because we will be peaceful within ourselves. Our peace cannot be rocked, cannot be shaked, shall not be shattered by someone else's poor choices, by their own trauma, by their own relationships. And it's important that we recognize that, which this is actually a perfect segue into our next lesson. The next lesson I have for you is that your boundaries help build your relationship stronger, not destroy them. It's essential that we're clear on where our boundaries are. We have to say it in plain language, because if we leave something to be imagined, then other people will start to fill in the gaps, because that's just human nature. We're always trying to figure out the unknown, so just let it be known. I know that there have been several times where I thought I was setting up, where I thought someone knew where my boundaries were, and I feel like they were being disrespectful to me, but they didn't find it to be disrespectful because that's how they were raised. They were raised to have conversations in this way. So though it's uncomfortable for you and it may not be okay for you, that doesn't mean it's the same thing for them. But if we don't tell them how to engage in a relationship with us respectfully, then we're leaving it up to their boundaries, up to their ideals in order to create that relationship. And that may leave us resentful. That may leave us feeling like we're not being heard, that we're not being respected. But that other person has no idea because we haven't had the conversation. So when we have those conversations and we let other people know where our values are, that is something so important. And once they learn where your boundaries are, they can better meet you where you are, and you can meet them where they are. You can have more honest, more clear relationships, which if you have a healthy relationship, this is only going to make it stronger. My next life lesson is that your 30s demand a lot of emotional regulation. And what I mean by emotional regulation is what we talked about before when it came to your boundaries and your healing, is that it's your life and it's up to you to regulate your emotions. It's up to you to control your emotions. And this is something that's important, whether you're like me and you're someone who struggled with actually getting into sharing their emotions at all. and actually starting to feel emotions. If you want to learn more about that, I have a video for that as well. But yeah, when I started to learn how to feel my emotions, I had to learn how to regulate them. Because, man, we are all just little tiny kids inside of adult bodies, and adults throw tantrums sometimes, and it's up to us to recognize that whatever it is that other people are going through, that unless we did something to result in that, it is not ours to heal, it is not ours to regulate, but we have to regulate our own emotions. And that doesn't mean that we let other people suffer alone, but if they're not willing to face it at that time, it's up to us to remain calm. And sometimes if we remain calm, then they will also follow suit. This is something I see a lot in education. We actually call this a part of our de-escalation toolbox, because whenever a kid is super worked up and they're upset about something, and sometimes rightfully so, I come in 20 times calmer than them, because I'm hoping that they'll see my calmness and try to mirror that. We call that matching energy, and it's something that's super important, that we have to recognize what our energy is. To recognize it first is the big thing. Once I could recognize where my energy is coming from, I could determine, is this calm? Is this appropriate for this time, right? It's important to not let others' trauma or their others' experience get in the way of your happiness, get in the way of your joy, get in the way of your actions, because someone else, like we said earlier, may want something different for you, and their emotions may say that this is unsafe, that they're trying to keep you away from risk. But we have to remember, it is truly up to us to regulate. It's up to us to decide what emotions we will allow. We have to filter through a lot, right? We have to make those decisions for ourselves. There is no one who can regulate our emotions for us. We feel them in real time, and we need to regulate them in that time. And part of what helps me stay emotionally regulated is meditation, and that's just coming back to your breath. You don't have to sit in a perfect lotus position. You don't have to have the lights off and have soft music. You can meditate anywhere. I can meditate right here just by focusing on my breath, just by focusing on one part of my body, just by being present. And doing those little things whenever I'm feeling in a stress state help bring me back to reality, help ground me in the real moment. So if you're not sure how to emotionally regulate, I would suggest starting off with regulating something physical that you can recognize. Connect with it and bring yourself back to this moment, and remember that all of this shall pass. So you may be watching this video and say, hey, I'm in my 40s and these are some things that I'm still working on. And the last lesson is that it's not too late. Whether you're in your 30s, 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s, regardless of what decade you're currently living in, we are in this life to learn all of the lessons that it has to offer. And we all have something to learn from each other. We're not in competition with each other. Someone else, like you may have on your Facebook or Instagram or your TikTok, may be older than you or the same age as you, even younger than you, and have accomplished something in their life that you haven't. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only way that we should look at comparison is just to see what they're doing well and see how we can follow that model to an extent, right? It's not too late. The only way it's going to be too late is if we allow ourselves to think in that mindset. So don't get sucked into the hype that if you haven't completed whatever life's goals by now, that you're screwed. That you went to college for something and you're not currently using your degree. So are most people, right? So it's just important to remember that we only get stuck in a fixed position if we allow ourselves to. If we have a growth mindset, we are constantly learning, constantly changing, and that should be a welcome idea. Remember that regardless of wherever you are in your life, whether you are just starting your 30s, whether it is about to be your 50th birthday, on this channel, we're always bringing ourselves back to home. And that's a space of resetting. That's a space of knowing that regardless of what has happened in our past, that we can always be 1% better each and every day. That just by belonging on this earth, we are worthy in itself. If you're interested in seeing more of my journey, and if this at all connected with you, please write something in the comments below of what your experience of your 30s has been like. What lessons have you learned? Tell us if you're older than 30. I would love to hear from your generation and say, like, what can I learn from you? We all have something to gain from each other. I hope to see you in the next video. If you kind of want to see a little bit more about my journey, there's going to be a couple of videos popping up for you right now. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and just be kind to yourself, lean into love, and continue growing.